I never imagined I'd find myself in a situation like this. It all started with suspicion, a gnawing feeling that I tried to ignore. For months, I noticed small things: the sudden secrecy around his phone, late nights at work, and the faint scent of perfume that wasn't mine. At first, I blamed my imagination. Maybe stress was playing tricks on me. Maybe I was overthinking. But the truth hit me one Thursday evening. I came home earlier than usual from work, hoping to surprise my husband, Mark, with a home-cooked dinner. The house was too quiet, too neat, almost sterile. And then I heard it, the unmistakable sound of another woman's laughter coming from our bedroom. My heart sank. My suspicion wasn't paranoia. It was real. I backed away silently and left the house. I didn't confront him that night. I needed a plan. Weeks of careful observation followed. I watched his patterns, memorized his routines, and waited for the perfect opportunity to act. Then the idea struck me, something bold, something clever, something that would make him realize exactly how I felt. Mark had a particular habit: he kept a bottle of personal lubricant in the nightstand. That's when my plan was born. I swapped it with a bottle of industrial-strength glue, a harmless joke in theory, until one considers how determined he could be in moments of passion. The night came. He didn't suspect a thing. I waited in the living room, pretending to be engrossed in a book, my heart hammering with anticipation and guilt. A couple of hours passed. Then suddenly, the muffled sounds started, the ones that confirmed my plan was in motion. I tried to suppress a laugh. The muffled cries quickly turned into panicked shouting. Mark's voice yelled her name. Hers yelled in confusion. I froze. The realization hit me: they weren't able to separate. I dialed 911, half horrified, half amused, unsure whether to confess immediately or let them discover it themselves. The dispatcher didn't believe me at first. "Ma'am, are you saying they're literally stuck together?" "Yes," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Please, you need to send help." Within minutes, the wail of sirens filled the air. I watched through the window as the firefighters arrived, suited up in full gear, their faces a mix of professional concern and barely concealed curiosity. One of them knocked on the door, trying not to laugh. "Ma'am, this is a first."
Il aide dem upstairs, careful tout qui passe trait de face.
They peeked into the bedroom and immediately froze. Mark and the other woman were entangled in a way that no one should ever experience outside a cartoon. The woman was panicking, Mark was red-faced and furious, and I had to bite my lip to stop from laughing hysterically. The firefighters got to work, using gloves, scissors, and every tool they had to gently separate them. It took nearly an hour. Nearly an hour of awkward shuffling, muttered apologies, and careful precision to avoid any permanent damage. By the time they were free, Mark was furious beyond words. "You did this," he shouted at me, pointing a trembling finger. I stood there calmly, arms crossed. "Yes, I did." The other woman bolted, grabbing her purse and muttering something about calling a lawyer. Mark looked at me in disbelief, his anger giving way to a mix of shame and fear. You're insane," he said. "Or maybe I'm just tired of being ignored, betrayed, and lied to," I replied, my voice steady and quiet, carrying the weight of months of hurt. After the paramedics checked them for any injury, and confirming there was none, I made him pack his things. I called a cab for him and watched him leave, his ego shattered, his dignity, well, mostly ruined. In the days that followed, the story spread like wildfire among our neighbors. Of course, I never admitted the details. They didn't need to know the full story, but the version that made the rounds was enough. My husband had been humiliated in the most unexpected way. I became a legend in our small town. People whispered about my cleverness and audacity, and I finally felt empowered. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about taking back control of my life. I had tolerated lies, secrecy, and betrayal for far too long. And in one bold move, I had drawn a line that couldn't be ignored. Of course, I faced questions, judgment, and even threats. "Why not just divorce him?" some asked. "Why go this far?" others wondered. But to me, it wasn't just about punishment, it was about reclaiming my agency. Mark eventually filed for divorce. He moved out, humiliated, and slightly paranoid of ever crossing me again. And I began to rebuild my life. I started spending more time with friends I had neglected, pursued hobbies I had abandoned, and laughed more than I had in years. I even got a promotion at work, something I hadn't dared to imagine while worrying about my failing marriage. There's a strange satisfaction in knowing that justice, in its own messy, unconventional way, can be delivered. It doesn't always have to involve lawyers or courts. Sometimes, it's about creativity, timing, and a little bit of audacity. Looking back, I don't regret a single second. Yes, it was extreme. Yes, it was hilarious in a dark sort of way. But it worked. And more importantly, it reminded me that I am not a passive character in my own story. I am the author. And sometimes, the author needs to be bold, even a little reckless, to create the ending they deserve. Mark may have thought he could humiliate me, betray me, and continue his life as if nothing happened. But that night, I reminded him, and everyone else, that I am not someone to be underestimated. I am clever. I am strong. I am unapologetically me. And if the firefighters ever read this, I'd like to thank them for their professionalism, and for not laughing too hard while pulling apart a cheating husband and his unfortunate accomplice. Because sometimes, justice is messy, dramatic, and full of dark, sweet satisfaction.